Now over to Capitol Hill, where late tonight, Democrats and Republicans have put aside their differences to pass a law on deepfake revenge porn, co-sponsored by the unlikely duo of Ted Cruz and Amy Klobuchar.
On this vote, the yeas are 409, the nays are 2. The bill is passed, and without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
409 to 2. Not exactly a complete consensus in the House tonight, but still very, very close to it. Overwhelming support for what was unanimous over in the Senate, all to criminalize deepfake revenge porn, to force platforms to remove, quote, non-consensual intimate visual depictions, both real and fake. Now, President Trump says he will sign that bill into law, which will put jail time on the table for people charged and convicted of the crime. Victims of AI-generated harassment and abuse have been pushing this to pass for years.
My classmates created deepfake images of me and other girls at my high school. The most disturbing part, not just that they thought it was okay, but that the school failed to hold them accountable. Teenagers might not know all the laws, but they do know when something is wrong.
The boy used a Google app called DNGG that existed to remove articles of clothing from a photo available for all ages. The app is no longer available. Thousands of other apps similar are available. Additionally, social media needs to be required to take action.
The other part of this, big support from big tech, Meta, Google, Microsoft. The list of endorsements goes on. Not only do these companies back the bill, it's these companies responsible for removing the kind of newly criminalized content within a 48-hour window put in place under this new law.
So I wanted to make sure that the 30-year relationship of building mutual trust is important, and I wanted to kind of go back over a few things as how I have become very familiar with Hangzhou. I made presentations over there as well as down in Argentina. Well, previously you saw Joey Damerow and Jake Adberry and my son Craig, and then you see some of the others that were at the presentation, including Pablo, Zubar, and Marla. So I attended conventions over in Hangzhou and got to meet a lot of the people there, and of course I attended a lot of events globally, so I'm very familiar with Hangzhou and their AI opportunities. Here I am getting ready to be on TV there, and here I was making a presentation in Hangzhou, and here I am being on TV. Got a national audience for that, so that was a fun time, as you can see. Okay, the legislation on Take It Down relative to deep fakes being used to show people in their speech being used without their approval passed with an overwhelming majority, and only 2 voted against it. I guess they had a freedom of speech issue, but what that means is that products like DeepSeek are going, Chinese-based companies are going to have difficulty competing, and another reason that the idea there of the people who are based in U.S. but have Argentina connections, with CTO, of course, his family's Washington, D.C., and he lives in near L.A., so he, along with Pablo Abdian, have started a company, and I wanted to make you aware that this company has interest. I've visited Little Rock and did some presentations, and I felt like the cultural, acceptance was very, very high, which I think is real important. Plus the educational facilities of UA Little Rock and the access to a lot of key people, whether it's investors or whether it's people with technology background, is very good here in Little Rock. Of course, we know that Arkansas in general has produced some large companies. We can think about Walmart, Northwest Arkansas, and others that we know from Tyson's to other companies that have done good in agriculture. So trying to see how this can be expedited and why Little Rock would be a good location. So I wanted to kind of refresh your memories on this, and we'll spend some time on this, but I think the big thing right now is that there needs to be a U.S.-based alternative to DeepSeek on the low end as far as cost and prices, because that's where a lot of creativity comes from. They're not going to be involved as much as the large companies, but they are looking for differentiators and people that can be used by companies to compete against the large companies. And I compare it to a PT boat versus a battleship, because I've been in that situation before when I created a product on a desktop and sold it globally. I had to compete with some mainframes and was very successful because there was a need for the product, and I think that's what we're seeing in this situation. So I'm not trying to be redundant or repetitive, but I think the point is that Little Rock has an opportunity, and if not Little Rock, then other places are very much interested, and I point out to Dallas and Austin and other places that make sense as far as the Texas connection. So look forward to your input. And again, there is some urgency to this as things are moving quite rapidly right now, and that's typical in the AI environment.
The Tech Launch program at ULR's made this happen, and you can see the official times on this as far as the invite.
Tech Launch brings AI tech innovators to campus Tuesday, March 4, 1:30 p.m. program or 4:30 p.m. Reception: Argentina is emerging as a powerhouse for AI innovation, with companies like Solara, Possumus, and Nibble shaping the future of AI-driven business transformation. Whether it's optimizing processes, revolutionizing knowledge management, or unlocking new revenue streams, these companies are redefining AI's impact in the real world. Tech Launch AI event details: Tuesday, March 4, 1:30 p.m. program at the Schuick Lexicon McCarty Auditorium, 4:30 p.m. Presenter: Zubair Talib, Solara Labs. Beyond the Buzz, where AI is headed in 2025, beginning at 1:30 p.m. Join Argentinian engineers for an exclusive discussion featuring Zubair Talib, an AI expert with an MIT background. We will dive into what's next for AI in 2025, beyond the buzz, beyond the hype. Expect sharp insights, real-world perspectives, and a conversation that cuts through the noise. Whether you're building with AI or just trying to keep up, this is a discussion you don't want to miss. Investing in AI, beginning at 3 p.m. AI investment is shifting fast. Funding isn't just going to the biggest models anymore, but to the companies building AI-first products and real business applications. The winners won't just be those with the best tech, but those who know how to integrate it effectively. Solara, Possumus, and Nibble are deep in this space, building AI teams and watching where the real opportunities are. They bring firsthand insight into where AI investment is heading and what actually matters. If you want to understand where AI is creating real value, this is the conversation to be in. Panelists from left to right: Gustavo Castaneto, Nibble; Zubair Talib, Solara Labs; and Pablo Abdian, Solara Labs.
Have a headliner that's an MIT graduate, and we wanted to make sure that his schedule allowed for him to be here, along with other people I've known for many years. So it's going to be a great event. I don't want to, say any more since I have Parkinson's, and I've kind of joked about it being my side hustle, but all in all, that's just a minor part of the story. The real story is the focus on artificial intelligence at this time, and you can see it everywhere. And sometimes when you don't see it, you find out later. I was talking to somebody the other day, and I said, "Are you artificial intelligence, or are you a real person?" I was just trying to test them, and I found out it was a real person. But I said, "If it's the artificial intelligence, it's really good." But that's kind of the funny thing anymore is when you start talking to somebody, is it a real person, or is it somebody really trained to answer your questions? I went back and saw some clips on how much artificial intelligence has impacted Walmart, and you'd be really surprised there. But what I wanted to do here is to bring you into some invitations. We'll have some fun with that, but I want to make sure that you set your calendar, and this is more of an afternoon event on March the 4th, and there will be a news release and a website. I think you're going to find this to be an unbelievable opportunity to hear some of the experts on AI, and they're independent in the sense that they're not tied into anybody that I know of. They're sure not tied into me. We're doing this on friendships, and we're hopefully will do something for them, because I have had similar experiences in taking a open source software program. And this was in cable TV on much less lower level, out to globally, out to over 50 countries, but we did it on a platform that was on the desktop, and we allowed a lot of the features and functions of best of breed from using Microsoft, so we really moved fast, and I think they got a great opportunity as an alternative to the ones that we're seeing over in China and other places, even in the U.S., to come into a low cost and are really probably better than out in the market now. So that's the reason I'm excited about this. It didn't start that way. I just had to go over it. I wanted to come make a presentation, since I saw he was making presentations in Chicago and Detroit and Dallas and Atlanta and even out in D.C. I said, you ought to come to Little Rock. I think there's a lot of exciting things happening there, and a lot of stories. And you can go to Tyson, Walmart, Stevens, and on and on. So that's where this all kind of started from, but it's really started to jump, and I wanted to make sure you're aware of the date, March 4th, and please come. And you'll have registration, and there are some limitations as far as seating and events, so you really do need to register. Everything is free, but we'll have some fun with that too. Thanks.
Well, one of the first things you think of in Argentina is tango. Now, I've been to tango bars, tango shows, and I've been to a lot of other things, but it's a lot more than that. They have some of the best tech people, and there are really some great people that are great managers, and so that's what we're going to see. Special shout out to people who have been helpful in making this happen.
Keep smiling, keep shining, knowing you can always count on me. For sure, that's what friends are for good times and bad times. I'll be on your side forevermore. That's what friends are for. Well, you came in open me, and now there's so much more I see.
So another obvious connection is Eva Perón, and her, her life there in Argentina. I recall that Sid Sreeve and I went out traipsing around to Recoleta, a tremendous cemetery there, and is kind of sprinkling, but we were able to find her, where the burial place. She's part of a family, Durant family, and so the Artie family. Another part I was referring to is "Don't Cry for Me, Argentina" has to be when you think of Argentina.
The truth is I never left you. All through my wild days, my mad existence, I kept my promise. Don't cry for me, Argentina. The truth is I never left you. All through my wild days, my mad existence, I kept my promise.
One of the many side stories was meeting Payne Stewart and Paul Azinger at the Masters, and they were getting, just money to come there, and they were just kind of piddling around. And it was kind of funny that speaking English, and because I had I was living in Harrison, and Payne was in Springfield, and he was making, he had a lot of conversation about what I was doing down here, so it was really kind of an interesting conversation. It was just a few months before he was killed in a plane crash. The other part was Bernhard Langer, who's won other golf tournaments you can think of. Won the tournament. I was standing up where this picture was made at that time. Well, I was introduced to Pablo Albion by Sid Shreve from Arizona back around 94, 95. Well, probably at 2016 I stayed with the family there, and right outside of Washington. They were there. There was Mia, Pablo, Frankie, and Nora. Well, there's Frankie now with his, with Pablo's grandkid. Dad lived in D.C., and I think Zubar grew up in D.C. and then went to MIT and now lives in California. Shout out to Fitz Hill. Hope he can come. He came to Harrison several times, spoke to the Kiwanis Club, and of course, there you see Sidney Moncrief. He is at my golf event, and then, of course, you see the group there that's our boxing group, and maybe some of those guys can make it down. I've been communicating a lot with Gwen over Facebook, and here's the star of the show. Here's my Dr. Dean. I'll talk about him later. And the guy I sat by in church class every week is Gary Adams, and we always have a great conversation about the hogs. And Victoria, she's special in the sense that I did a podcast with her, and her mother has Parkinson's and lives in Cleveland. And here's the church dude. We have a lot of fun talking about his, being out of Kentucky, and now he switched because of Calipari to the hogs. And you can see Dr. Vermani and then Frank O'Mara, and then here's the chair of neurology. We did a podcast, and here's some great friends that's been very helpful to me. And you can see there I am in therapy, and there I am with none other than Craig O'Neill. He did a podcast with me. Dave Woodman, he came over to the house, and Craig did too. And we did a podcast here, and we always get Craig and Wendy's support. And that's when I did the podcast with Sid. We did it at the bookstore. And here's two guys trying to outsmile each other. And there's my buddy at the zoo, always a friend. There's the cowboy, Cowboy Dale. He'd have to check his guns at the door if he comes, but he does clean up pretty nicely. And there's old JJ. You saw his picture on the wall a while ago, but he brought a picture over, and I'm sure he didn't think I'd do what I did, but I hang it on the wall. I put 2 thumbs up every morning when I go by it. And I think this is a group at Rocksteady Boxing. And okay, at this point I'm going to switch gears and go to some of the people I've made contact with over the years in the cable conventions. Mark Cuban was an exhibitor there when he was in high def TV, and we had a conversation or two. And David Pogue, the CBS Sunday Morning, he's been interested in what we're doing in this TikTok era, and so you'll see a few people fly by there, and I'll mention a few of them, but they're people I've either had communication with or get occasional email or something on Twitter or something, so it's not just somebody that I don't know. I have had contact. Pogue was doing some things on the Bitcoin mining in Arkansas, and so there's a thing or two I kind of chimed in on. I'd been observing the situation in Harrison, so you'll see a few things like that, and you can go back to Robin Roberts when she was ESPN, and she was at cable shows, and just this person and that person, so I want to mention them at this time. Okay, one more connection between Little Rock and Argentina. I don't know how many knew James Cheek, the ambassador to Argentina, and he was appointed by Bill Clinton, but Jim Cheek lived in Little Rock, and he passed away living here, and I was on a flight back and forth between Argentina and Buenos Aires and Little Rock, but at one point I had made contact with his office, and this is to introduce myself and that I was working down there, and I knew he was from Arkansas, and he had decided we'd go out to dinner, and again, I don't decide things like that. He said, sure, and he came by the hotel. It was a Marriott, and he was had a driver, and he was in a black Mercedes, and Sid Shreve, who did a lot of the business development, he was the guy, the rainmaker as far as traveling with me down here. He knew people from way back. He's a Mormon, and he grew up down here, and so he was there, and we were going to go out to eat. And when they come in, we were all dressed up in a suit, and he came in. No, he was wearing jeans. He was kind of laid back. Didn't appear to be an ambassador as far as ways he looked. But then, he selected the hotel or the restaurant. And typically in Argentina and Buenos Aires, they may start a little late in the day, but they work really late at night. So going out at 6 or 7, restaurants are pretty much empty. So we were going, 8, 9-ish. And you usually go there at that time, and maybe you spend, up until 10, 11 o'clock or whatever. But when we got over to the restaurant, found out that he was virtually a rock star down here. He had kind of been a Ted Lasso type person and supported a soccer team, the San Lorenzo team that was really pretty down as far as not being one of the better teams, but they turned it around, got it going, and he was at a point where even the president, Menem, was telling him to get off the referees because he was really making it tough on them when San Lorenzo didn't get the right things. And I did go to a soccer game, and it's totally different atmosphere too. But this night we went to the dinner, and he just got. It would be like going out with one of the top movie or TV stars. And so it was really a fun evening. We had a great time, and that led into a lot more introductions, and it's a top-down sale a lot of times in Latin America, not like maybe the States and some other places where you might go to middle management and work your way up like we did with Time Warner and others. But when you're just selling something in that environment down here, and I saw a lot when we were starting up in small cable where we dealt directly with the ownership and made the deal. So we got, and even a lot of countries I went to, we were talking to billionaires and not the people that you might think of. So it's just a kind of a fun story, and I thought I'd include that at this point. Okay, we had Rick Nelson at for the golf event. I was kind of chairman of the Kiwanis golf event in Harrison, so he was up there for a while. We had a fun time, and Dr. John Murch, he's on my Speak with Intent class, so I got to know him very well, and I saw there that we have Pete Piper, ETI, and Leslie Stahl. I put her out there because her husband had Parkinson's, and 60 Minutes is always doing something on AI. So that's that, and now you can see David Pogue coming to Arkansas and doing his thing on Bitcoin mining. And I did quite a bit of research on that. And he'd been following me on this TikTok. And before I really got into my podcast, then here's Mark Cuban in the early days at Cable, speaking at a convention, and now he's really deep in his AI, and he thinks it's great that these small companies are going to be able to do what they did in China, and that's the same with, as we know, with this group from Argentina. And you saw well, exhibiting cable shows, you got to meet a lot of people, and of course Robin Roberts was working at ESPN at the time, and you could see Digger Phelps and Jay Billis in their younger days, and so you got that opportunity quite often. Doing a spinal cord stimulator, and we were doing a media interview. On the left, I'm Diego Maradona, famous Argentine soccer player for Halloween, and on the right, I'm Marshall from PGA. It's the Brothers family to the Harrison Kiwanis program he presented, and here I am at another cable show, and he's saying, well, you look like a Terry Bradshaw. And I think we all know this picture and this picture. Then we get back to Jim Cramer, and there's a funny story getting into his booth at a cable show. And this is the first apprentice, Bill. And there you can see some of the Fox crew. And there I am hiding out, getting ready to go on a Chinese TV program. And then you see me going to another costume for Higher Parkinson's. National podcast with George Hagerman. And his mother passed with Parkinson's, so it was very good. So I put an early draft of this podcast on Finding Your Happy Place, and then he put an early copy out on Spotify. So you'll see that it'll be coming out more soon. You'll see it on a lot of other things like Apple or even on YouTube and others. So, but I think we've had a great working relationship there. And there he was at the inauguration. He has been out there doing a lot of different
Sadly, she passed on 1/1/2020, but we started together for Sharon.com in her memory and to advocate today for all those still battling PD and their families, because no one is ever alone in this fight for a cure. Today's guest is someone I've grown close with, pretty new, but someone who inspires me every day. Wanted to welcome you, Herb, to the show, and such a real honor to finally get the opportunity to advocate together.
Well, same here. I know, some of the things you're experiencing, what I'm experiencing are some of they parallel, and so I think it's always great to talk with people that see it from two different directions, and I really enjoy this opportunity, and I enjoy your podcast as well as the information. I've got your book over here somewhere, so I have looked through that and enjoyed all the experiences that you had, and what maybe you could may have done better, and what you may not have expected to happen. So I think I'm kind of in that same boat, and so I really appreciate the opportunity to talk about that. I'm a person that creative, and I think that the fact that I never give up. There's a little more than 3 words, but it's kind of the meaning of the 3 are the important things that kind of summarize me, and always looking for something that can be helpful to me, and maybe I think some of the older people may be the guinea pigs for people in the future, and we got the national plan to end Parkinson's that we may not be hearing as much about as we should, but that's come into play now as we got into 2025. So I've got an upcoming event, and this is on artificial intelligence with some people from Argentina I met 30 years ago, and they're really good friends, and they're coming into Little Rock, and we're doing a whole session on that, and then we're having an Argentina wine tasting, and I've been the one that's kind of been facilitator of it. I've gotten some good help from other people that are in the Arkansas Academy of Computing. That's some of the pioneers in computing, and they've been helpful to me. But this is an exercise when you get 81 years old. Some people can't think you can pull something like this off, but it's on March 4th here in Little Rock, and I'm looking for it to be a big success just because of DeepSeek and all the other things that are coming from so many different unusual places, and these people have been dealing with artificial intelligence for I've been around them, so I know that they've done a lot in the last 10 years, but they did a lot of virtual reality and near virtual reality and Internet of Things. So it's kind of nice to be on a technical level, on that depth, I guess, at this stage, whereas some people would just barely, be communicating and not looking for interest like that. And that's one thing I think that kind of keeps me going is to come up with these ideas and see if I can make them happen. And this is probably one of the more challenging, just because of the nature of the event, but also attracting people to come to it. And so that's going to be my next focus on my next podcast is kind of introducing these people that I've known for years to people that will be the investors and other people that's doing tech work with artificial intelligence. So I think that's going to be a fun event, and that's going to be over the next month. So as far as our timing, I don't know when this podcast will be seen, but I'll be talking about it anyway. So
Thanks, Jim.
Totally separate from Parkinson's, I have diabetic neuropathy, and I've been dealing with that. That's Dr. Dean. That's actually my middle name. I know. Heart surgeon, so he has a good idea of issues with circulatory issues, as well as a lot of the other things which I've been unable to get. Sometimes I go to a specialist and they'll end up prescribing physical therapy, and then I found that the genesis of my problem was a blockage from the knee down to the foot, and there is a way to remedy that, and I had it done, and they've done it without a stent, but they had to do things like you think about your heart, and that's getting out the plaque, and then getting it opened up. So that's why I want to feature Dr. Dean. Okay, Dr. Dean's picture on the internet and meeting him in real person are totally different.
I used to be a heart surgeon here.
You used to be a heart surgeon?
And I got sick. It was either go out on disability or continue to work over here. Because when you go from 100 hours a week on call every night to this, with all the good help that's over here, life gets a lot easier.
You look like a mountain man, so I think you probably...
I am kind of. I let my hair grow out after my divorce.
Oh, is that what it was?
Mm-hmm.
Seem like things to do.
Yeah.
It is.
You look like you know what you're doing anyway.
I went down to Little Missouri with the Ozark Society on a Sunday, and I was not the one with the longest hair.
This Sunday?
We took Woodrow had a Air Super Puma. My brother had one, and I had one, all with rolling frames. So we rode it. And then Marcel, who had the longest hair, the senior guy there, was in a whitewater canoe, as was Andy from Russellville. Andy's a physician up there. Where are you from?
I'm from Harrison, but I live here in Little Rock. I live out in Chenal Village, Chenal now.
Well,
Yeah, so.
my best friend in med school was from Harrison. He was actually from Valley Springs.
I graduated Valley Springs.
Then you know Kenny Collins.
Kenny Collins?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I know all this kinds of story about Kenny Collins and his wife Melissa and
Yeah.
his wife. Now, did you,
I used to go fishing with Kenny.
did you?
He was a wealth of information on fishing.
Well, he's a hunter, fisherman, and, he's in his environment up there because that's where he grew up, and he's got brothers, and he's got one sister that, she's in insurance now. But yeah, the Collins family's dad was a good. Well, he's still alive, and mother, and he was principal
Kenny
Valley.
was Church of Christ, played basketball at Harding.
Yeah, yeah,
And he's just the best, the absolute best guy.
yeah.
He found out that I had boats and canoes. We
Yeah.
became fabulous friends.
Well, have you been hunting with him, or you just fish?
Just fishing.
Just fishing. Well, yeah, he's got a dog worth thousands, I'd say. It goes, and I think maybe his son. They do some duck hunting. I don't know. His son does anyway. I don't know.
I've kind of lost track. I hadn't kept up with him, but he was just such a good guy.
Yeah, well.
And like me, he went home. I'm from North Little Rock, so I went 3 blocks back over. And
Well, Kenny, he's an elder at the church there, and I was at Harrison, and of course I worshiped there in Northside, but we moved down here in February, and my son's here. I have Parkinson's. My wife has ovarian cancer, and I have a daughter with birth defects. So we're still pretty independent, but being here next to a son that lives here and a daughter-in-law has made it much easier, and it's nice that we can come over here. My history with St. Vincent's is kind of odd that one day, and it's been a long time ago, I had an issue. I think it was really maybe on an anniversary, and I don't know if it was drinking wine or what, but I had this thing where I had a heart issue, and the doctors up there didn't know what to do, and so they put me on an ambulance and they sent me down here, and I came to St. Vincent's, and I got really good treatment, but they did that catheterization, and they said, you're not ever going to die of a heart attack. Of course, I've had everything else, but the guy that was the doctor, I believe it was A.J. Thompson.
yeah.
Thompson.
His office was in this building.
Was it?
So it was, yeah.
Yeah, I know, he passed, but by him saying that, it always comes to my mind that because it wasn't a whole lot longer, that at a young age he died of cancer, so you never know. But
You just never know.
yeah, but no,
Do your best.
Hello there. How are you doing today? Have you ever heard the poem For Want of a Nail? I was very young when I heard it for the very first time. Let me try and recollect it here. For want of a nail, the shoe was lost. For want of a shoe, the horse was lost. For want of a horse, the rider was lost. For want of a rider, the message was lost. For want of a message, the battle was lost. For want of a battle, the kingdom was lost. All it took was a nail,